So basically, the way I was able to get this hat, I'm wearing it now because tonight is one of my favorite nights of the year. Rosh Chodesh Elul, the first day of Elul is one of my favorite nights. The whole year I wait for with David Hashem Ori to recite it. I can't wait, and I can't wait all night. I'm really so excited to hear the shofar blowing. We're going to daven, God willing, 6:18 a.m. tomorrow. But I'll just tell you the story of how I got this hat. So he ordered the hat 2 weeks in advance. The guy made the hat. He took my measurements, and he's in Bnei Brak. He said he wanted a certain price. We said, we'll give you this price. We said, fine. Okay, then I said, I'm God willing, I'm landing on Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. I'm going to be in Bnei Brak. I said, I'll be there between 10 and 11 to go and get the hat. I said, no problem, no problem. And then show up. It was a whole mess to get there because the Waze didn't give me to the right address. You know, when you're tired after a long plane ride. Anyway, so every time I asked somebody for directions in Bnei Brak, the way it works is they said, oh, give me a ride. So people get in the car and they give me a ride. Anyway, I get to the place of the address right between 10 and 11, and there's nobody there. Of course not. So I'm like standing there on the street. They say, anybody know this guy? 2 people know him. And they're calling. I'm sitting there crying like I'm doing that. So finally one guy says, you know what you need to do? Go to the Belzer Koel, the Belzer base medrash, and go ask them there. I'm like, I don't know what the Belzer base medrash is. I said, take me, show me how to get there. So it was like a 5-minute drive. I get there, I walk upstairs, smoke-filled halls. It's like 11:30 by this point. I'm over there an hour and a half. It's like 11:30. I walk in. Everybody has their tefillin on, like they literally just finished davening, and they stop and they all stare at me. and they're like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I'm looking for a Victor." They're like, "A Victor?" I say, "I came here to buy a Strymol." They said, "A Victor? He lives in Ashdod. He's not coming till 5:00." So I said, I started talking to this guy, and he's like, okay, I'm going to call the guy there, tell him to open up the place for you. He'll open it up for you, and then you'll sit there and you'll wait. Anyway, so it took me like 20 minutes to get back there, and the guy who I was talking to in the Belzer Koel, turns out he's the actual owner. Avigdor is his employee, and he said to me, and when I drove back there, finally, he was there waiting for me. And he opened it up, and he's like, okay. And of course, they put it on, and of course, it didn't fit. So he's like, okay, we'll fix this, and we can send it to you in Jerusalem, but I'm going to send it with a driver, so just pay me everything now. And of course, I don't know this guy's name. I don't know this guy's number. I don't know anything about him. And he's like, otherwise you could come back here. Now, Bnei Brak was like an hour and a half away from where I was staying. So he's like, yeah, Gesundheit. So he's like, here, give our friend Jeff this. So he's like, okay, it's give me the money in cash. And I don't want to be explicit by talking about how much it was, but let's just say it was more than ice cream cone. So I said to myself, if you can't trust a Strymol seller, who can you trust in life? So I gave him the cash, and I'm like, how are you going to find me? He's like, write it down on this piece of tape. And then I'm like, can I get a receipt? He said, sure. He took a piece of paper and he said, I got the money from you. I'm like, oh God. But then that night the Strymol showed up. So that was that. So I have it now. And it's better. It's Baruch Hashem. It's amazing. I mean, it's literally like you're wearing 40 pounds on your head. All right, let us anyway, but it's so good. It's what the 2 things I own in life that give me the most pleasure is my white Strymol and my black Strymol. Really, none of my other physical, maybe my tefillin, and that's it. The other things in life, my Rabbeinu Tam tefillin, my Rashi tefillin, and my Strymol.
Children.
No, I don't own those. I'm saying the things I own, the physical possessions that I own. This is what gives me the most pleasure in life. Okay, so I don't really own jewelry or anything like that. This is what gives me pleasure. Okay, let's start. Baruch Hashem, yeah, gives me pleasure because it makes people happy. Yeah, and it's a conversation changer. Okay, so we'll go to the Parasha Shoftim, chapter 16, verse 18. Shoftim the Shotrim. Okay, Moshe, I'm going to call on you to read the Rashi. So I'll read the pasuk and then you'll read the Rashi. Shoftim v'shotrim titin l'cha. Oh, I want to tell you one other thing. So I went to visit my nephew, who Baruch Hashem, I have 3 nephews serving. 2 of them are in Gaza this week, and one of them is in the north of Israel on an army base. And this army base, his army base, has actually Netzach Yehuda, which is a Haredi group, but the one maybe half a kilometer away has a different group called Chashmonaim. Netzach Yehuda is religious kids, but then there's another group even half a kilometer away called Chashmonaim. You heard of it? And they speak in Yiddish, and no woman is allowed on the base. And on Shabbos, they wear Shabbos clothes. So there's really starting to make a change. I don't know how big it is, but it's yeah. So it's very special because my nephews are serving reserves over and over and over again.
Chayalim are beautiful spokespeople for it too. They speak up and they.
Yeah. So you should. Have you visited them?
I haven't visited, but I read about them and I've heard them. Videos.
Right now, the Hashmonaim are only a platoon, but the plan is to have a division.
Well, there are some
in their communities. They're very proud of what they do.
Yeah, and I was very powerful. So my nephew said that he could arrange for me to be a scholar in residence for a Shabbos in one of the bases, but even though I don't know Yiddish, so we'll see. Shoftim v'shotrim titen l'cha b'chol sharecha. You shall appoint judges and officers in all your gates. Asher Hashem Elokecha nosein l'cha l'shvatecha, that Hashem your God is giving to you for your tribes. V'shaftu es ha'am mishpat tzedek. You shall judge the people with righteousness. Okay, Moshe, our dear friend Moshe, who's a tremendous scholar, is going to read for us the psukim, the Rashi. So what's it? We have 2 terms here. We have shoftim and shotrim. I translate it as judges and officers. You should appoint in all your gates. So Rashi tells us that shoftim means dayanim haposkim esadin. These are the judges who decide the law. So shotrim means these are people who imposed authority over the people to make them follow the orders of the judges. Go on. B'makel v'ritzua I have in my version with sticks and whips. Go on. Until they accept the judgment of the shofet. So basically, shoftim are the judges, and the shotrim are the police who enforce the law of the court. Actually, since we're speaking about Haredim, I read, I saw an interview with one of the spokes. There isn't one Haredi movement. It's like who's the modern Orthodox? There isn't one person, but one of the people who's one of the frequent writers defending the Haredi is Rabbi. I don't know if he's a rabbi, but he's a lawyer. His name is Jonathan Rosenblum. Anyway, he said, even as a Haredi, he wouldn't want to live in a country. Like, would you want to live in a Haredi-run country? Even the Haredim don't necessarily want to live in that. So can you imagine, what it says, these officers, that they come to enforce the law, what kind of law are they enforcing? That's the question I'm asking everybody. Are they enforcing all the laws of the Torah? Or are they like saying, oh, you're violating Shabbos, we're going to go kill you. You're not dressed in all white and black. So you're wearing shorts, so we're going to kill you or smack you, or you're talking to a woman in public, we're going to smack. But it doesn't say that. It says that they enforce the orders of the judges, meaning to say just in a limited sense. They're not enforcing all the laws of the Torah. They're enforcing the court orders. It's very different. I don't think the Torah ever imagined a society where you're enforcing all the laws of the Torah. I don't think so. And if it would only be where is an age of prophecy, where God's vision is so apparent to everyone.
There's a term for this. What are the officers of the court that go enforce court orders?
The marshals?
The marshals, maybe like U.S. Marshals.
The bailiffs?
Yeah. I mean, there's officers who work for the court.
The sheriffs?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. So these are limited. Okay, but go on. Okay, so now we see from here, every city has a responsibility to appoint judges. You see, you take this for granted, by the way, that every city has responsibility. But if you're living in a society, that's not necessarily as developed a bureaucracy as we have today, and all of a sudden you see every city has responsibility to appoint judges. When I went to Venezuela, the chief rabbi of Venezuela told me that this was over 10 years ago. He said he did not see a future for Venezuela because they did not have an independent judiciary. The hallmark of a free society, of a fair society, is an independent judiciary. And the Torah is telling us that every city has to have a judge, meaning it's not just whoever's the strong man in town. There has to be an independent judiciary in the city. Go on.
Rashi Shoftim Shoftim Titin Off, which is this one.
Titin Lecha.
Titin Off. And so it's half of a closer and half share several camp or no simple.
Go on.
This is
Milamed.
allow me some or Stephen Diana before save it before you read.
Okay, so what Rashi is telling us here, this is based upon the Gemara in Sanhedrin 16b. Each tribe has to appoint their own judicial system, meaning to say each tribe has its own independent laws. That there wasn't one law for all of society. There was each tribe had its own law. Shemoshivin Dayana will call Shavit v'Shavit call ear v'ear. Why does each tribe have to have their own judges? Why don't you just go to the central court system? So why was, if there's, so first of all, there's a couple of questions here. Another question, first of all, one question is, why do you need one tribe for each, one court for each tribe? And a second question is, why do you need a tribe for each tribe, a court for each tribe if each city already has a tribe? So each city, sometimes there's more than one tribe in a city, fine. But why does each tribe need their own independent judicial system? Because each tribe, Gavi, has their own unique laws and your own unique customs. And we want to preserve that. We take it for granted in America because we have state laws and federal laws. But we already anticipated that system by having each tribe have their own judicial system, their own unique laws, and then they had, and on top of that, you had a Sanhedrin that oversaw everything to make sure that everything was being done equitably. And if the court gave you a ruling that wasn't fair, you could try appealing that to the Sanhedrin. So there was a very, very sophisticated judicial system. People don't realize that. Okay, go on. V'shaftu et ha'am. So it's a biblical commandment, a positive commandment to appoint dayanim mumchim tzadikim, judges who are expert and righteous, lishpot tzedek, to judge righteously. It's a positive commandment from the Torah to appoint righteous judges. It's a very powerful idea. Very powerful idea that we have to appoint righteous judges. That's, I think, the hallmark of a functioning society. Okay, the next pasuk says, you'll read the next Rashi. I'll read the pasuk. You're not allowed to pervert justice. Panim, can't show favoritism. You can't take bribes. The bribes will blind the eyes of the wise. And make the words of the righteous crooked. Okay, let's look at all these Rashis here and see what we come up with. Lo tatem mishpat. Kamashma'o. So this means okay, what does it mean? When Rashi says kamashma'o, it's like it sounds. Basically, Rashi has to explain what's the difference between lo tatem mishpat, do not pervert judgment, and lo takir panim, do not show favoritism. So lo tatem mishpat is like it sounds. And lo takir, meaning don't pervert the justice, don't pervert the ruling. But lo takir panim is going to mean something else. Don't show favoritism. What does that mean? Go on, Elliot.
התענית שלא יהיה רב וזה וקשה וזה.
Okay, so Rashi's telling us, Jeff, that even one thing is you can't give a bad ruling. That's lo tatem mishpat. Lo takir panim is during the judicial proceedings, you have to be very careful not to show any favoritism. Do not pervert justice during the proceedings. Don't have, today we would be like, don't treat one of the parties unfairly or give them more honor. That's what it means. Azharat l'dayan. Af b'shat tanot. During the time of the complaints. Azharat l'dayan. This is a warning. How you doing, guys? Grab, here's a chumash here. Grab a chumash over here. Azharat le. Grab a chumash. Do you prefer Ayal or Avner?
Either one's fine. Don't call me Ayal. You can.
I call you what you prefer. What do you prefer?
Ayal's fine.
Yeah. The Talmud says that there are people who don't have a share in the world to come, and that's they call people by a nickname that they don't like. So I try very hard to call people by the name that they like to be called. So Shkoyach Avner, we're doing chapter 16 of Devarim, Pasuk Yutet, verse 19. So it says, Lo tatem mishpat lo takir panim, af b'shat tanot, during the time of the proceedings, hello Eitan, azarat l'dayan, it's a warning for the judge. You shouldn't show favoritism to one, speaking softly to one, and then speak harshly to the other. That's not the appropriate way to act. You can't have one standing and the other sitting. When you see that he's honoring, that the judge is giving honor to his friend, his arguments, the litigant will become intimidated and he will not present he won't be confident enough to present his argument. Any of you boys interested in becoming lawyers? Oh, it's a shame.
Rabbi,
I mean, it's just a shame because you can really change the world as a lawyer. You know what? But you can change the world as anything. I think I told the story to Shia. I also told him tomorrow on Shabbos. I'll tell you this story. Whatever you do is right. I'm not telling you what profession to be, but I'm saying we should have one lawyer. But you know the story about the Chafetz Chaim and changing the world? Did I ever tell you? Okay, so the Chafetz Chaim set out to change the world, and he wasn't getting anywhere. So he said, "Okay, I'm going to change all of Polish Jewry." He wasn't getting anywhere. So he said, "Okay, I'm going to set out to change all of my city of Rodden." He wasn't getting anywhere. So he said, "Okay, I'm going to set out to change all the people in my household. I was just try to make them better." And he wasn't able to do it. So, he said, "You know what? I'm just going to change myself." And when he changed himself, of course, he changed the whole world. So I don't know where I heard that
I
story.
didn't know it was attributable to the Chafetz Chaim. You've heard the story.
But Chafetz Chaim, of course, changed the world. Okay, so
Rabbi, I was just going to say that takir panim can also be literal, meaning if you recognize the face of one and not the other, that already creates a problem. So like I told somebody last week about the story about Rabbi Ami who received a basket of his own fruit from the Aris, and he said, "I can't sit in judgment because it's
for sure.
So like, is there not a way that we could even have the litigants standing in we can only see like a silhouette, and we don't even know if it's a man or a woman, and they're sound garbled that way, like just like to be mamash honestly, like only for the sake of what is the exact ta'anot, and that way we can completely objectively, right? Like,
well, one second. I would say before we go on, I'll say that a lot of times, most of the cases, probably, I mean, we have at least two lawyers in the room, Jeff and Eric, but in my experience, a lot of the cases are just decided on papers. They don't even see the parties. They just decide without even seeing them often.
There's a
And
reason
so
why,
like with the
Hold on,
racism of
Rabbi Yosef, Eric is sharing something, yeah.
I'm saying there's a reason why when they bring defendants into court.
They dress them
They
nicely.
dress them nicely, they don't wear, prison clothes.
The orange suits, yeah, very nice. Very nice. Also, sometimes you see the opposite. Sometimes people testify and they hide their identity, but it's very hard to bring a lawsuit. I've tried a few times. I've had this conversation with my lawyer. It's very hard to bring in a lawsuit where you're really anonymous. It's very hard. Anyway, so Velosi.
I also thought this was referring to literally people who come into court to be supportive. So sometimes they would try to bring somebody who's powerful in the community to sit on your side, indicate, and that you also have to just you have to work hard.
I went through that in my litigation. It was actually a year ago around this time when I was in court. And the people who brought charges against me, the judge ended up telling them that they had to pay me $182,000. They tried to intimidate me by bringing 100 people there and taunting me and, like basically sitting in the court and trying to intimidate the judge or whatever, trying to influence the decision. And I asked, it was intimidating. It was intimidating. And I was intimidated. And I thought about it, like when I went to the bathroom in the court or I walked outside, we were heckled. So that's what it is. Yeah, the judge did tell everybody you have to behave. Yeah. Okay. Lo tikach shochad. Elliot, please read it. Afil lishpot tzedek. Do not take a bribe, even to judge righteously. Meaning to say like this, you could say, listen, I know I'm going to rule. I know I'm going to rule in this person's favor. So now he wants to give me an extra $1,000. Listen, I'm a civil servant. We don't make any money. This guy's got, we make money, but not like this freewheeling dealer person who's making a lot of more money. I'll just take a little bit. I'm going to rule that way anyway. No, you can't. Why not? Why not? Why not? Look at Rashi, the next Rashi. Ki hashochad ya'aver. Because, go on, Elliot, because the bribes will blind. Right, he says, once you accept a bribe from him, it's impossible that you will not tilt your favor towards him to ruin his merit. People think they can be independent. This is why the government, theoretically, I don't know if they still do this, they used to have very strict laws that you're not allowed to accept like a gift of more than $25 from somebody, because you might think, okay, it's not going to affect me. It says the Torah, it's impossible that it will not affect you. It's impossible. Eric was a congressman and there was a gift, there was a rule, right? I don't know what.
Still is, there's still is. Very strict rules.
I'm not so sure how strict it is today.
Still the rule.
It's still the rule. Shochad yaver, divrei tzadikim, the words of the righteous. Finish the Rashi here. Elliot. Dvarim hametzudakim mishpatei emes. Meaning to say the judge is the bribes blind the eyes of the wise. If he salif divrei tzadikim, it makes the righteous words crooked. Dvarim hametzudakim mishpatei emes, words that can be justified, judgments of truth. I'm not 100% sure what this Rashi means. Meaning to say it's dvarim, words that are righteous. Not the words of the righteous people, but words that are righteous. I just want to read the next pasuk so we stop on a very high point.
In parentheses, he said here that the judgment of truth uttered at Sinai.
It could be, but I think the other way to read it is the way I was suggesting, the dvarim hametzudakim, the words of truth, right? Like Rabbi Yosef was saying exactly. Just want to read the next pasuk so we remember it. It's a very powerful pasuk. Tzedek, tzedek, tirdov, justice, justice you shall pursue. Man techyev yirash es haaretz asher Hashem lokacha nosim. Loch, you have to pursue justice, pursue it, run after justice. There's a lot to talk about this Rashi. God willing, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Going to daven mincha now. I want to just say one thing before we daven.